What's up, guys, and welcome back to another edition of Competitive Edge Podcast. So my guest today, some of you are already going to know him because he's a personal friend of mine. We're both in the mortgage space. So all my mortgage real estate people, you're going to know the name JJ Mazzo. And you also, after today's conversation, are going to see what I've seen as somebody that not only has just written a book, which we're going to unpack that some, but somebody that's been a top producer, last several years, still doing over 100 million in personal production, leads $1 billion plus division in a team. But I'll tell you what's most impressed me is just how he shows up, not only as a husband, as a father, and all the things in business, but how he's taught other people. I was thinking about your legacy. If people were to talk about you and you're not in the room, would you have an impact and would you have changed people's lives and made a transformation in them? So JJ has done that. So I can't wait. Today, you're going to take notes. You're going to hear a little bit about his book. So we got Perseverance Principles that is coming out. You can pre-order it. We'll give you all the instructions to do that. But I want you to listen into what JJ's story and how he's achieved success in areas, but also listen for the things in your own life. And where are the areas that you know that you're playing small or average? I call it sitting on the sideline for parts of your life that you know if you got serious and you made a commitment, your life could change. I think people are waiting on you to do that. So join me for this conversation. It's going to be awesome. JJ, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate you.
Dude, I'm pumped. When we had dinner here, it's been almost a month or so. Amazing sushi, by the way. I've recommended that place to tons of people. You got to go do this. Incredible experience. And, you know, one thing that stuck out to me is you're always creating these experiences. As I listened to you, you were talking about this and how you love to cook and how you love to do things. And I look at people like that. I go, you're always looking to create experiences and serve other people. And I know that didn't come from a place of like, you had an easy road or things were just handed to you and all of that. But I would love to know where that shifted for you, because your whole life, I always think it's an experience. But the way you show up today, let's take people back a little bit, right? And come back to the origin of who was JJ early on in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I think life is about experiences. You know, I'd gone through that stage like many people where you try and fill it with lots of things, and those things will never really fill it. And at the end of the day, at the end of the life, and you see enough people. And if you've had a lot of loss in your life, and unfortunately I've had lots of loss in my life, and when you realize like when you lose those people, you get to keep all of the experiences, like all the experiences that you ever had with them, good, bad, or indifferent. But even if you had lots of bad experiences, it's really the good ones that tend to come up more often than none that stick with you the most. And so for me, I didn't always have lots of great experiences. And so I think deep down from a kid and not having a ton of nurturing and things that are required for kids in the way that I was brought up, and it wasn't always detrimental and bad, but just unpacking a lot of that over the past few years, I think that is where me wanting to provide that and give that to other people, you know, fills that cup that maybe was missed out for me in a lot of ways. You know, I was the youngest of five. By a lot, you know, my sibling, my sister's 65, I'm 48. So, I mean, there was a big gap there. So, you know, there's a lot of you're basically an only child for the most part. And so I think just creating experiences, I was creating a lot of those experiences by myself, and then just being able to curate them for other people is just, it's fun, man. It's, you know, doing them by yourself, not so fun. Doing them with other people, really, really fun.
Hey guys, it's Brian here. I hope you are enjoying the show. By the way, if you're an entrepreneur or a solopreneur looking to grow your personal brand, make a bigger impact, maybe increase your leads and grow your revenue, let's help you get started today by connecting up with my friends over at the Brand Builders Group. You've heard me talk about them, but if you're new here, this is definitely the first step to get you started in turning your reputation into revenue. Head over to freebrandcall.com/Brian Covey. Again, to set up your free brand call, go to freebrandcall.com/Brian Covey to set up a free strategy call with one of the team at Brand Builders, and they will dive into your specific goals for how you want to grow your personal brand. I can't wait to hear how it goes. That's life. I remember you sharing that story of being the youngest, you know, and I was like, okay, a lot of that makes a lot of sense then, right? And you think about that as you've grown up and now got your own family, moving out to Tennessee, hopefully here soon, and all these things that I look, And people look past this, but I want to jump in, if it's okay, to the book, because a lot of your story is found in there. And one of the things that stood out to me was this characteristic that, we learned in sports, but we hear about it. I think some people try to debate it, but you talk about perseverance being a skill, something you can acquire, right? Like you're not kind of born with it. You're not gifted it. You had to forge that and learn that over time. And then you started writing about it in the book. And I love that lineage there of, do you believe that's something that everybody can really learn? It's like a skill that you can work like a muscle. Is that the way you look at perseverance?
Yeah, I think that's how God works in our life. He will keep throwing it at us until we learn the lesson. And I think if we look at lots of lessons, like I wasn't the sharpest, let me tell you, because a lot of those lessons took me a really long time to learn. Most of the lessons in my life, I would say I didn't get close to learning a lot of them until my mid 40s. And it's ironic, as I lose my father, I gain so much more wisdom after you realize when you're a true, when you lose both parents, you really gain just a different viewpoint on the whole world. And I think that had a lot to do with it. But I think as you're doing hard things, and each time you overcome hard things, so whether or not you choose to do those hard things, or whether or not hard things are thrown at you that you did not choose to go through, each time you go through them, you become better and better at it, and you have more and more perspective the older that you get. And it goes to the theory of relativity too, right? Like if you've only uncovered, gone through one or two hard things and you're 5 years old, and, it seems monumentally harder than when you're 45 or 20 or 30 years old and you've gone through 10, 20, 30 different hard things, And so I've challenged people, if you write down the 3 hardest things that you've ever gone through in your life, top of mind right now, 3 most horrific things that you've ever gone through in your entire life, and you write those things down. Most people are going to be able to top of mind write down some things that are just really not great things. And you look down at those and you think of where you are now, and you've already overcome those. Like, you literally have survived. You persevered through those things and in one way, shape, or form. And yet we just sometimes bury them, don't like to think about it, instead drawing power and experience from those things to help us through the next one.
Yeah, I love that. And you're talking about doing hard things, and the more experiences you stack. I had a similar experience, man, where I feel like that. We're the same age, and I think about, man, the things I wish I knew 10 years ago. Like, just wish I knew it, but you have to go through many times the pain and the loss of things and the bigger mistakes that everybody says, get a mentor. They're going to help guide you through, ease some of that. Like, that was definitely part of the journey. And I'd love to know yours, is how people today, when they have these setbacks or losses, how you're able to look back on those and turn them into a transformation. Because I think many people, like you said, they may just repeat that, or they may have to go through it again and again, and God may bring that back again. Like, okay, I want you really to learn it this time. How do you think people can take that setback, loss, whatever it might be, persevere and jump into that next version of themselves, right? That's ready to, and they could conquer that the next time it came up.
Yeah, well, the big thing when writing this book, and this book was something that was, it wasn't said, hey, I'm going to write this book. This book was something that came, and it was like, wow, I think there's something here that can really help people. And so the 7 principles of perseverance that are in this book really kind of take you from the beginning to the end of, a major life change or a major problem that you might have to persevere through. And how it came to be was, the past 3.5, 4 years in our industry has been really, really rough for a lot of people. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people have exited our business over the past few years. And I was thinking about it and seeing how grateful I was being in this space and still doing really well. But thinking back at 08, 09, and we talk a bit about it in the book, and remembering pulling up the implodometer and running to the bank to cash the check before, the company went out of business. And what's the difference between then and now? And, is it having money in the bank? Is it, I know how to do loans better? Is it, I have a bigger database? And it wasn't those things. It was really these principles that kind of carried me to get to a certain place that allowed me to be able to persevere through this market. So, the fact it's coming out when it's coming out is, I think it's definitely God's timing, because it's like, man, there's a lot of people that maybe exited the business that this can really help. People that are in this business, it's like, man, I don't know if I can hold on another year, that this will help, whether they're realtors or mortgage professionals or in any industry. And I think, to answer your question, going back to that, is they have to start with their discomfort zone. And that's principle one. You have to really dig deep to find out, like, what is the area of discomfort that keeps bringing you back to it, and I say the likeness to, an area that where something is not aligned with your integrity. So a lot of my friends, that are sober, they don't drink anymore. And there's nothing, I still drink occasionally, but like when I think about why, it's like, I think a lot of them realized over and over again that it was against the integrity of who they wanted to be and what they were until they made the change. For me, that was hard drugs. Hard drugs were a big part of my life. Unfortunately, it was how I coped with a lot of things until I realized this is against the integrity. This is not who I want to be. And then you start realizing, man, okay, well, let's start there. Well, why am I taking the drugs? Now, that's the big question. Why am I doing this? Yeah. It's not I'm doing this and I shouldn't. It's like we all kind of knew that when we're in the game, like I'm doing this and I really shouldn't, drink too much or whatever it may be, whatever addiction it may be. And I think it's really going deep into why I'm doing it. That's the discomfort zone, and really getting into the nitty gritty and asking yourself really hard questions and getting to that point. And for me, it was lots of therapy, seeking lots of counsel to get to that point. And man, when you can release that and uncover that, it lightens that backpack and lightens that load quite a bit. So I think we really all need to start there, because you can't start developing principle 2, which is developing self-leadership in the right direction, until you understand why you've been going in the wrong direction, whether it's something that happened when you were 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 or yesterday, until you've really addressed that discomfort zone.
Dude, so good. And I'm glad you started there, because I look back at my own journey and similar things. I know we talked about this, and I stopped drinking a few years ago, and it was just one of those, people ask me and all that. I'm like, it just didn't align up with who I was. I couldn't find anything good or positive with me, and I'm training and I'm wanting to get my diet into order and recovery, and my sleep was impacted. And I just said, I'm just somebody that's going to choose, I want better sleep, I want better healthy habits, and it just didn't align up. And then once I got through some periods of time, in a year, 2 years, 3 years, now I go, like, I don't have a reason to go back. Doesn't mean I maybe in the future won't have like a drink, but it's just like, I just decided that's not who I want to be. And I love you share that, because for a lot of people, they really are that one decision. And it is discomforting, because there were times that I would be out, and there were times that I'm like, oh, I should go do that. It's just like the old habit just comes back up. Did you find that in your kind of recovery and just setting new standards for yourself, of the old you kind of, I always say, knocking on your door, like, hey, JJ, like,
Yeah. And I still do. Not really with the hard drugs. I make sure that I really, when it comes to certain things, I make sure that I just don't put myself in those situations, right? You're a product of your environment. So I'm no longer in that environment. I'm no longer with those people. That helps quite a bit. But it doesn't mean sometimes, with other things, it just doesn't cross my mind, but I can catch it a lot more. I'll be like, I know what you're thinking. Not a good idea. Come on, let's move on. Yeah. So I can catch it in thought as a seed of thought before it ever plants its roots and before it ever creates the action. In a lot of ways that just used to be habits in action and never thought twice of it. And so it's a constant for me, and I think it also is growing in faith. The more you grow in faith, and those are completely different habits. As those are taking roots, and you're removing the old weeds, so to speak, that's where you really start seeing some changes. It starts happening more in your heart than just your head.
Yeah. Amen. I remember, as you're telling that story, I thought back, last year, and I shared some of this like health journey and stuff. I'd love your take on this. Like, I started to realize this emotional connection to food, that when I wanted to get healthy, I started to realize like a lot of my real struggles, when you're saying like find the root cause, what was there, it was like if something went wrong, or if we celebrate, like, food was like, I would just emotionally eat, not even being hungry. And I started to recognize it. I love you said that. I was like, when you start to recognize those patterns, you change your environment. And so I remember going through it, and it was weird, man. I don't know about you. Like, it's uncomfortable to confront those things, because you're like, am I the weird person? And then I would share it with some people. They're like, no, like I've been through that before. And so I'd love to know, in your journey, as you started to see those things, I was thinking about like pattern recognition, and you'll start to see things in your own life. Were there things now that you're on the other side of some of this, and you're even writing the book, that you're like, you can see areas you still want to level up in your life clearer?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Definitely, I'm still seeing a lot of areas that I would like to still just continue to start leveling up. I think that, the hard part in writing this book is when you write your stuff down, then you've read it over and over and over, because you got to edit each chapter, 10, 15 times, right? And then you read the whole thing and you edit it again as a whole piece, and you really start realizing, like, I need to take my own advice. And that is a game changer when you're like, oh my gosh, well, you wrote the book, dude. Why don't you open chapter 4 and read that one again? So it is a level of self accountability that's helped. And it's not like I'm perfect. There's no one here that's perfect. I'm never going to be perfect, but man, it does give me a little extra accountability to remind myself of what I truly feel, what I truly think, what I truly want. And so when I get off track, I can always revert back to that. And so that's how I know it really will help other people, because it's helping me in situations all the time where I can revert back to it and just be like, oh yeah, this is one of those areas I need to tap into my support system. I need to reach out, and one of the areas when we're talking about, creating financial security, just the other day, I had this opportunity. I don't make large purchase decisions unless I seek certain counsel. So I have people that I seek. And it's not that I can't, it's just I know that seeking counsel in those decisions is a better way to go. So I made a call, I called him, I talked to him, and on my counsel, it's Josh Sigmund. He's one of my business partners and first coaches. And, we just determined that that's not really a great idea. We should probably wait. Why don't we take and review it next year? So I think always going back to this has been a huge help for me. And I really hope it is for others too.
Dude, what a principle, man. So we're going through something similar. I'm glad you shared that story, because I found the times that I made decisions on my own, and I didn't seek the advice. I don't know, like, my wife always gets these things right. Somehow it's like the spidey sense. Like, I can run an idea by her, or she can meet somebody we're looking to join our team, and literally, JJ, she's right. And I'm like, I didn't see that. And now I'm making decisions. Even this week, we had a decision on a piece of real estate, and I ran it by a couple of guys that I really trust, that are smarter, removed the emotion. And similar to you, they said, I don't see it. I don't think so. I was like, man, I would have done that. And I look back, the mistakes that I've made, the bigger ones, were me just going out thinking I had it all figured out and doing that. So I would love for you to talk about that, because I know we're very much aligned on wealth, not just being financial security, but, bigger picture than that. When you're writing this, are there things that people should be paying attention to about wealth and how you define that? Because I noticed some of that kind of recurring theme, at least the way I was picking up on, is define wealth. Let's just start there. Like, wealth.
I think there's two parts of wealth, right? There's financial wealth, and there's spiritual wealth, and there's self wealth. You can have any of. Honestly, I don't think you're going to have real financial wealth. You can have financial wealth without the others, but it's really pointless. The one thing that I think, for me at least, that they all tie together is consistency. You need to have consistency. So if you want consistency in your wealth, then you need to consistently invest, consistently, dollar cost average. You need to be consistent in your principles and what it is that you find to be a good investment or don't. So consistency there. You need, if you want to be spiritually wealthy, you need to be consistent in the word. You need to be consistently taking time to read and pray and be in it. And then same thing when it's self. If you want to be wealthy in yourself so that you can be wealthy towards others and have a true wealthy life, you need to be consistent in how you take care of yourself with your health and your mental health. And, what you say to yourself matters. We all catch ourselves saying something in our head to ourselves or out loud to ourselves. We're always listening. Mm-hmm. And we've been with us longer than anyone else. There's no one on this planet that will walk longer with us here other than God than ourselves. And so, we forget why it is sometimes we feel like crap about ourselves. Well, if you go around talking crap in yourself for 30, 40 years, you're not going to feel all that great, right? So I think being consistent in the messaging that you have to yourself and what you're feeding in. If you're watching the news, the negative bias all day long, then you're going to feel that. If you're, putting good stuff in your mind and picking and choosing, like starting with gratitude, starting with affirmation, starting with reading, some daily devotionals, like starting feeding your mind with those things, like feeding your body and exercising. I mean, listen, I was the guy who used to wake up with a hangover. So I'd smoke a cigarette, have a cup of coffee, and be at my computer working by 7 o'clock. Like that was it. And then I would work till 7 or 8 o'clock at night, have a couple martinis, and then go to bed and rinse and repeat. And then maybe I'd throw a donut in my mouth too. And then I'd wonder why it is I was 75 pounds overweight, couldn't breathe, work out really good, was super stressed, and was probably really, really close to dying of stress or a heart attack or something like that, versus deciding to go the completely other direction. And then you see on the outside, you get in better shape, you lose the weight, you feel good, and you do all these things. So how and I can't remember who said, I've heard it over and over again, is how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? And what I realized is how I was doing one thing outside of work was bleeding into everything. And I needed to make a choice on how it is that I was really good at work and making money and being consistent, but all I needed to do is take that and apply it to my health and things that were in wealth that mattered way more than the money itself. And the funny thing is like, it was amazing when I started really feeling the wealth and the spiritual, the self wealth and the spiritual wealth, the less that the money wealth even mattered, but then the more the money grew, right? Yeah. It was ironic. I needed to make sure I was pouring things equally across the board. But I would argue that, pouring them more into your health and yourself, so that you can then pour it into others, will give you back the actual physical wealth in the bank all day long.
I love you sharing that. And we hear this and people say, oh, it's cliche. And hear people say, hey man, I focused on my health. I focused on my spiritual journey. And then this financial side just started to come together and make sense. And I'm like, guys, if you think about that, it's very, very biblical. Like that's where God wants you to prioritize things, and then he will bless you according to that faithfulness. And so we hear them, and for anybody listening, I just want to encourage you. You've heard some of JJ's story. You can look and see some of the other things there, but I can tell you this is the time I spend with him and the time I've spent with people around me that are successful in all those areas he's talking about, they did it in the right order. And I've seen the opposite to be true. And I'm sure you have, JJ. It's like people that just chase the dollars, and especially in our industry, it's easy, right? Because we recognize volume and production. And if you're in real estate, you recognize sales, and we just go chase this, and then you're empty on the other side.
Yeah.
I've yet to find somebody like, and I always hear this too, like when you were sharing that, how you do one thing is how you do everything. The thing about this too is like taking advice from people that aren't really in the place that you would trade places with.
Right.
I'm like, man, that one's stuck with me lately. So,
but if you hang out with clowns, I put this, if you hang out with clowns, you're going to find a circus every damn time, buddy. I used to hang out with the clowns. I used to dress up in multiple different clowns. But if I showed you a picture of what I looked like in my face off my best income year ever, and I showed you a picture of maybe the past, maybe a year ago, one of the lowest income years in a long time, and you looked and I asked you, and I didn't tell you which one I made the most money in, most people would probably point to the one where I looked the happiest and I was the healthiest, and they would be wrong. And so I think you can look in the mirror, and if not, you can look at pictures, and they will capture a moment in time that will tell you exactly what it is that you need to know. It's just whether or not you're willing to listen.
Amen. Yeah, I've looked at some of those pictures, and it's interesting you share that, because I think that will give some people, I don't know if it's permission or just some self-reflection time to look at that. And are you really happy? And after some of the events that have happened, and when we're recording this and all that, to know the bigger purpose, like no one's going to remember how much volume you did, how much money you made, and all these things that like we were just so focused on. And you're sharing, I just think, I was there. And so I know people in our industry, especially the people that listen to this show, a lot of them face that because they're just chasing that success that someone else has defined on the outside. So I'd love to know your like, now that you've had these record years and you've put up numbers like, this, JJ, like top 1%, and you've built this team and you got the book coming out, and your brands, you're from the outside, everybody's like, dude, you're just crushing it everywhere. How are you now defining success?
I think for me, what I'd define success is my relationship with Christ, and just make. And then I think the other is how my kids are turning out, and how my relationship with my wife is progressing in a completely different area than it was in the previous 20 years, right? It's just different. And, her grace is amazing. Her love is unconditional. But it's like, man, this is a different version of me, right? So I think seeing how those relationships are progressing and growing, really, and those that work with me on my team, directly or indirectly, how they're growing and getting fulfillment from that. Like, man, I just get so much more for it. It used to just be me. And when the ego is there and running the show and driving the car, it's like, man, it's never enough. It's never enough versus watching other people succeed. And the more you see them succeed, it's just like the best feeling ever. So, the definition of success is if other people around me are succeeding and thriving, then for me, that's the definition right now.
Dude, I love it. Yeah. And you give and serve that way. And I think people see that and it attracts them to you. And as I look at how you've matured there, it is interesting because I think a lot of people get stuck in that it's me, and always trying to get to some destination. And then I'm going to go back and like help other people. And it's kind of cool as I listen to you. It's almost, hey, look, yeah, I've done these things, but the true joy and the fulfillment, you go help enough other people. It's amazing how the rest just comes together.
Yeah, I think it helps because I speak their language. So like, you're not getting one over on me. I speak your language fluently, which is fluent, top producer, selfish, show me the money, language. But at the same token, I don't judge. Like, I'm not judging. I can't judge. I'm not one to judge. Right. And I think that's an easier conversation for me to be able to have with people when they understand it's not someone who's like talking down to them or going like, I know better than you, versus like, no, I speak that language and maybe there's a different way to do it that I found. If you're open to it, no judgment. But, I think that really does help a lot in business and outside of business too.
Dude, cool. I love similar approaches. We don't want to give everybody the whole book, but let's Success Principle 2. We brought it up a minute ago, but let's hit on that and give them a little teaser, because that way I want them to get through all 7, actually buy the book.
Yeah, absolutely. So developing self-leadership, once you've defined why it is that you don't want to do things and what it is that you do want to do, then you've got to develop a self-leadership around you about how you're going to take yourself in that direction. That's not easy to do because, who's been leading you up to this point may be a version of yourself that no longer serves you. All right. So they've been very effective. That version of me was massively effective. It helped me do all kinds of amazing things. It helped me create my children. So like, I don't resent that part. Is a huge, and I have massive gratitude for that part of me, but that part of me isn't necessarily the one that I want driving the ship now. I want this version of me driving the ship. And so I think once it is that you've realized that, where it is that you want to go, it's okay. Well, what are the steps that you're going to take? Who is it you're going to align yourself with? Who is it you're not going to align yourself with anymore? I mean, sometimes not being with certain family people, not being with certain friends in your life, not going to certain places that you used to go to, because those aren't going to put you in the right direction in which that you want to go. So it's developing that self-leadership of, okay, you are leading and you're going in a different direction. What do you do and how do you get there?
I love that, man. I think for anybody, that's going to go through this, and hopefully you go through the book and you see these, because these are laid out in a really good flow. I would tell you, JJ, as I went through, I was like, this makes a lot of sense. Like if you've been through it, which I think everybody at some level has been through some things in their life. And so they're going to, okay, that's me. But now they have this framework to move forward. Once they get the self-leadership, let's give them one last on the principles. And then I'm going to shift gears on us, but third principle.
Third one is putting plans into practice. So, okay, now which direction you're going. You're leading yourself in that direction, but implementation is key. And I would say that's one of the things that I've been told that I'm really good at is implementing fast, right? And it could be good things or bad things, but now we're going and leading ourselves in the right direction. It's making sure you're implementing those things with structure, with systems, with guardrails. And I have guardrails in my life just to keep you on that track aimed in the right direction. But if you have all these great ideas and you never put those plans into practice, then you're not going to really go anywhere. It's like the prime example is I had a gym membership for a long time. People are like, oh, I got a gym membership. And, and I'm not going to tell you, it's family member just told me, I got my gym membership. You're like, Do you realize that if you just got a gym membership and got healthy, they could charge like $1 million a year for that membership if that actually worked? You have to actually go. You actually have to do something. And so, a lot of times we're reading these books and we read the book, we're like, it's a great book. Or you go to a conference, you're like, this conference is amazing. But unless you put those plans that you have into practice and you have a system to do it, then it's not going to go anywhere. You're just going to end up in the same spot.
I would agree. You're definitely a great implementer, and I noticed that in quick implementers too, attracted to each other in that sense of, I'm probably guilty of implementing some things just too fast. I'm like, cool, we're going to try it, we're going to adapt, we're going to figure it out. But I've just found too many mistakes and opportunity costs in my life when I look back of, I didn't implement the idea fast enough, or I didn't implement it at all. And the times that I did implement quickly, very rarely did it, explode. But it's just like, okay, it didn't work. Well, that's okay. Adjust.
I had heard this from a billionaire recently that someone had told me, and he said, just make it good. You don't need to make it great. We will make it great, but it's getting it off the ground when it's good. During the time we'll make it great. It's the momentum and keep it moving forward. I think, building the plane in the air, so to speak, as people have said, is sometimes that's what you have to do. And you're like, well, why do we have to do it? Well, because if you don't, you're just going to hit the ground anyway. So you might as well build the thing if you're already up in the air. So, I just, sometimes people get paralysis by analysis, and we talk about it in there. And it's like, the assignment isn't to get it perfect. The assignment is to get it completed. And the assignment is to put it into action in order to complete it, And so, that again, it takes time, it takes practice, it takes moving forward to do that. And so I think the book does a good job of talking about that too.
I think that's great. And think about my own journey too. I know you probably relate to this, as like, even with like working out, which most people can relate to this at some point in their life, out of shape, we got to get back in shape. I was like, I don't remember there being a perfect workout, or like something I can go, oh man, I just dialed it. It was like these perfect workouts just happened perfectly. I'm like, no, there were days I just showed up and I did whatever I needed to do, and do that enough times, it's like, okay, now this works. That's not working as well. I'm going to tweak this. But could you imagine you just waited for the perfect workout to show up, and when you felt like it, and I'd still be overweight.
Yeah, or the perfect part, or the perfect script, or the perfect referral partner, or the perfect loan program, or the perfect timing in the market to invest. I mean, that's what everyone's been waiting for. The perfect timing in the market to invest is when no one else wants to invest. No one ever actually realizes that, except for wealthy people I've learned from. They're like, oh, best time to do it is when no one else is doing it. Best time to sell is when everyone else is buying, right? Yeah. So it's waiting for the perfect time, where usually while we're waiting for the perfect time, it's usually right in front of us.
That's right. That's right. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Shift a little gears to mortgage and real estate here. We are starting to see improvements, right, with rates, and we've seen sellers a little more agreeable to sell at a reasonable price, concessions, different things there. If you were talking to an originator today and they're like, man, this is awesome, I'm going to implement some of these things, but what do you think it really takes for them to be successful? And what would you be looking at in this market if somebody, let's just say they're not performing where they would like to, underneath what they believe is their potential? What are some of those key areas you would coach them to, or you've seen, okay, this is going to help you start to build a blueprint and move forward?
Well, I think it's just two things: mindset and consistency. Okay, and I see it because I've got lower performers that work for me. I've got higher performers that work for me, and I've coached some amazing producers. And the mindset and the consistency is really the key. It's really the biggest difference. So making sure that you have not a victim mindset, not a scarcity mindset, but an abundance mindset, a why not you mindset. Like, why not you? Like, that was the big thing for me. I remember when I first saw, Shayla and Josh on stage, and it was the first time I ever saw someone said they made $1 million in the mortgage industry. And I was like, that's amazing. So I can do that. And then all I did was ask them, well, how do I do that? And then they told me how to do that. And then I just went and did that. I think it's just overcomplicating it, right? And just doing the mindset that somewhere along the line someone told them they weren't good enough or they couldn't do it, whether it was themselves or somebody else. Someone told them that, because that's just not true. And so you have to unwind that and unpack that in the mindset. The next is consistency. It doesn't need to be, what happens is sometimes, like, confidence is the single the single most important thing for performance. That's in professional athletes, that's in business, that's in everything. So what people do is they set goals that they will, and I believe in BHAG goals and big goals. Don't get me wrong, but they set goals, daily goals or daily priorities, in which case they're not able to hit them. And so it's like telling someone that weighs 100 pounds, you need to lose 100 pounds. Instead of just telling someone right now, I just need you to get up and put your running shoes on and walk to the mailbox twice a day. And then from there, you can walk a block. And then from there, you can walk a mile. And then from there, you can run a mile, right? You have to build up to it. So I would say building some daily disciplines, I would say this. I would call 5 new current clients, 5 new past clients every single day. I would call 5 current referral partners and 5 prospect referral partners every single day. That's just 5. So 5 in each of those categories. If you did that every single day, 5 or 6 days a week, over a year period of time, and you just had the process of adding value and asking for the business, just those 2 things, and you did that, you would be successful. You just would. It would just be hard not to. It's like, okay, showing up to the gym. But if you showed up to the gym and you got on the treadmill and you just got on the treadmill for 30 minutes a day, every day for 5 or 6 days, and you just made sure that you didn't overeat and you just did those 2 things, you would be in better shape at the end of the year, right? So I think we sometimes complicate these things. And I don't care if it's a 2x4 or a 3x4 or 4x4 or 10x4, but if you just pick 4 categories and you called those people consistently, you would be able to start building the confidence like, oh, I could totally do it. If I did 4x4, now I could do 5x5s, 5x4, excuse me. And the confidence builds, and then you don't really go backwards. One of the biggest things is I never want to go backwards and losing or gaining 75 pounds again. I just throw on a 45-pound ruck pack. I can't even stand the 45 pounds. So I throw that thing on. I'm good. It's a great reminder for me. Once you move forward and get into a new zone, falling backwards, it is a lot more difficult than people, I think, actually say.
I love that. I love breaking down those and the 20 points of contact there. If you did those 4 groups, the 5, I love how you broke those down. What are some of the things you're seeing? We'll get a little tactical piece because you're really good at this and scripting and what you say and asking for the business. I think some people start to stumble here a little bit. They get into like, okay, JJ, Brian, I'm going to make my calls. Now they start to get into these calls and they fumble a little bit. Any advice or anything that you would coach them through early on of what you're saying, not saying, just to help guide them in this market?
Yeah. So in our coaching company at Impact, we believe in having a go-to conversation prepared. So 1, you need a list prepared. So it comes to being prepared. You have your list prepared of who you're going to call. Then you have what it is that you're calling about. So maybe I'm going to call you to invite you to something, or I'm going to call you about a loan program, or I'm going to just pick what it is you're going to call. So just choose it for all of them. All right. Just for simplicity's sake. And then we're going to program them, right? These are your salespeople. Your referral partners are your salespeople. You want to program them with something to talk about, which is, hey, have you ever run into a self-employed borrower that doesn't qualify because they write off all of their income? And they're going to say, yeah, I sure have. Well, we do those really, really well. So if you run into one of those, or if any of your colleagues do, would you just let them know to give us a call and we'll take great care of them? So this way you can actually, find them a house and close on it. Yeah. So it's having a go-to conversation and not. The other is like when asking for the business. Here's the one thing. There's 2 reasons every single human being on this planet work, whether it is in any country: food and shelter. That's it. It's not like, well, I work for a Lamborghini. No, like, let's just be honest. First, food. Second, shelter. Then Lamborghini, right? And so otherwise everyone can relate to that. So when I usually ask for the business, I would go like, hey, would you do me a big favor? Is there anyone that I can really help currently that that shouldn't be renting, that is right now? It's how I feed my family. Now, when I say it's how I feed my family, people can relate and understand that. We don't get mad at plumbers for plumbing. We don't get mad at electricians for fixing the electricity. Yeah. We're salespeople. So we shouldn't feel bad for asking for the business. And sometimes you have to subtly, subconsciously remind people it's how you feed your family. Like the reason us salespeople are the easiest lay down of buying anything ever is we understand how hard it is for a salesperson. And that's how they feed their family. And you only eat what you kill in the sales business. So we understand it. So we're like, we overpay for this. We're like, okay, you want to? Okay, yeah, we'll do it. So it's a different mindset for us, but we have to remember other people look at us more skeptical because maybe they haven't had the best experience with salespeople. But man, if you put it in, this is how I feed my family, I'd be so grateful. And you show that gratitude, it's so much easier asking for the business when you're coming from the right place.
I love that, man. Guys, I hope you're taking notes on this because I wanted to get into some of that. Don't want to give it all away. And I love that you mentioned the impact coaching. So guys, we're going to have a link in there, but you need to check out what JJ and his partners are doing there. So if you don't have a coach today, I'll just put a plug selfishly for you.
Thank you, brother.
You need somebody. I'm just going to tell you, like, I know we believe this is there's coaches in my life and coaches in seasons that there is no way any of us get to where we are and develop this mindset and this consistency without the reps we do. So you need a great coach. Reach out. We're going to put the link for the book because I think you need it. If you're a team leader, I know a lot of you that listen to the show, a lot of my friends, you run a team, get this and go through the book with your team. Imagine what they could look like and you would look like going through the process together on the other side of this. And then you now have these principles you can refer back to, and you've created this roadmap of success. And as JJ mentioned earlier, one of the things for him, seeing his team win more, that's why you got into leadership. So take the tools, take something, actually put it into action. Just a little actionable thing for you. But dude, before we wrap, we could jam forever.
Totally.
I want people to always leave them wanting more, get the book, follow up on the coaching piece. I know you guys do a lot of cool stuff online. I'd love to know this from you because you're headed into this kind of next season that's there. And I think 2026, a lot of people are already thinking about that, right? Because by the time I release this, it's going to be pretty close to fourth quarter and we're there. Is there anything that you're already starting to do? I think you might have mentioned this on our call yesterday, our CCM.
Yeah.
So you're already thinking about next year. And for people that are not, I'd love for you to just break that down simply, like how you're attacking. You're already thinking about that, which I'm just telling you, winners are already thinking about the future.
Yeah, so because it takes time, right? Planning takes time. So for the month of September, I'm gathering data, lots of data about my business, as far as where did my clients come from, what partners am I working with, what money was spent, how many hours did I work, in those hours, were they effective? Do I want to do the same thing again next year? So, all of that year over year, month over month, what did it look like? Who joined my team, who left my team, why, were they effective in their roles? Was I effective in growing them in those roles? So just gather all the data. Don't do anything with it necessarily. Ask the questions, gather the data. And then in October, we have a place in the mountains. I'm going for 4 days by myself. I literally go there because it's a great place to kind of clear your head. I will bring all that data with me. I have a checklist of all of the things that I want to work on and prepare for in the different businesses. And I will sit there for 4 days straight in the quiet and, work through it all and formulate my rough draft of my business plan and my goals for the next year, review what worked and didn't work. Because essentially I have 12 months once we get to that, because I can take in the fourth quarter of last year. You don't wait till the fourth quarter of this year to be over and then put your goals in place. Like you're not going to get any wind in the sails, so to speak. So I will have a rough draft done by October. And then this way I can implement them for November and December and have momentum behind them. Why everybody else, I already know all my competitors and everybody else is going to be in the gym January 1st, so to speak, the business gym. Everyone's going to be showing up. Everyone's going to be making the calls. Meanwhile, I'm going to be 2 months ahead in implementation. And if there are any tweaks or adjustments that I want to make, I can do that in the November and December time to make sure. And at the same time, it's important to be omnipresent. Most of our clients, most people all see anywhere between 15 and 20 family and friends during the holidays. Mm-hmm. I need them to be thinking about me, not Uncle Joe during the holidays who maybe bought 2 houses. And there was this sign that a realtor put up. The realtor, in fact, I think her daughter or something works across country. It says, I sold 282 houses last year. Your cousin sold 2. And unfortunately, though, the cousin wins a lot of the time because they out-relationship us. So it's important that I work the hardest in the fourth quarter, and maybe I don't see the results from my hard work in the first quarter, but I do in the second, third, and fourth of the next year. And so it's just being ahead of the curve. While everybody else is getting their business plans ready in December, they're not going to have it in motion and going until February or March. And the people that don't, they usually give up by February or March anyway. So, and it's because they didn't have enough momentum or thought in doing it.
Freaking gold. Dude, that is awesome. If you're listening, guys, go back and write that down and think about it in your business. We all have access to a lot of data. If you've got questions about it, reach out to JJ or myself, right? And let's help you, guide you through that. Because I think a lot of you, especially in mortgage and real estate, if you had somebody walk you through this, you may not have that today where you are. Reach out to us. Glad to help you. People reach out all the time. I know to JJ, we were talking about this, and people reach out to me. Let's help guide you through. If you do this one change in your business and you start early and you come in with that momentum that JJ's talking about there, imagine what 2026 could look like. I think it's already going to be a better year just from what we're seeing now, but you want to go fight and grab the market share. You want to go fight and be the one that people think about. So, bro, we could have jammed a lot longer, but I just want to thank you. I appreciate you because you show up. You encourage me and inspire me. I love being around you. It's one of those things like a long lost friend in a way of like, we haven't known each other that long, but I've always, admired and seen what you've done. And now that we get to hang out on the same jersey, it's really cool. And I'm excited for what you are going to be doing because a lot of people are going to be blessed and served, not just by the book, but by your coaching and how you're showing up as a leader.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Thanks for doing this. I know you're serving and helping a lot of people with this, and I'm grateful to get to know you as well. So thanks for having me.
That's what we do. It's why we started the show. And for everybody listening, thank you for listening. Number one is we do the show for you. That's why we bring on guests like JJ, because I believe they have greatness. They have things that they can share that are going to speak to you. And you get to go make that change in your life. And then that ripple effect, I believe, will happen to people that you're around, that are in your circle and in your corner. You get to do that. So we don't charge anything. Podcast isn't, we're not making money on this thing, but I will tell you this, is we love reviews. If you've loved today's show, something spoke to you, you liked something that we shared with you and it's impacted you, drop us a review over on Apple. 5-star, leave a little comment there. That helps us get to more people. We're fighting to get back into that top 1% again. We're just outside of it. And so being competitive, as JJ said earlier about feeding your family, this is something we want to get this in the hands of more people. Because I do know the show has impacted lives. So we want to do more of that as we go forward. And the last thing I'd ask is, if it's impacted you, it probably impacted people you know. Share it with someone that needs to hear this message, especially mortgage and real estate. This would be an easy one for you. You can look like the hero, share it with them, help them do their business plan, look at some of the success principles and the perseverance principles that JJ shared, and you can be the one that helps them move forward. So as always, thank you for showing up, giving us your time. You had choices to make here. We hope this has been of value. Let us know how we did. If you've got questions and follow-up, reach back out to us, and we'd be honored to serve you. So do something great, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Cheers.